everyone, and welcome back to the Dream Life Loading Podcast, Season 2, Episode 30. I'm your co-host, Skye.
And I'm your co-host, Susan. How are you today, Skye?
I'm having one of those migraine days. Like, I honestly think there is so few things worse than waking up with a migraine because you just wake up and automatically you're like, the day's over. And we're both migraine girlies, unfortunately. So if you don't get migraines, I am very happy for you, but they are truly just terrible. So I woke up on such the wrong side of the bed and really have been like, it's such a hard balance of like, I want to push myself because I want to still have like somewhat of a good day, but also like there are just physically things I cannot get done today. So trying to balance, trying to just like caffeinate, Excedrin, hydrate, and just chill. So I'm a little bit more low energy today, but I'm getting through it. So
You need one of the. Do you have one of the hand clips?
you know what? My mom actually got me some 1 year, and she's so good. Like, oh my god, the oils, the headache
Yep.
clips. Like, if there's anything on the internet that says like this would help migraines, my mother has bought me one. So
Yeah.
among the years, I have had them, but I don't know where they are. But that's I should just hold my
That's
while
one thing. My mom gets chronic migraines, and she was actually on a clinical trial for migraines because she was getting like 24 a month and
we
like
talk.
debilitating, couldn't speak. Like there were times we thought she was having a stroke because she literally like could not speak. Half of her face would go numb, like
Oh
whole
my
nine. So Melinda is a pro in the migraine department, and she used to. When I was little, I would get them really bad, and she would hold the pressure point on my hand. But now they sell the little clips for them, and they do really work. I keep one in my bag, and if I feel a migraine coming on, I do it. Hold it for like 15 to 30 seconds each hand.
god.
Do it like up to 4 times, and then usually that helps clear it up. But
Idea. It's migraines are so funny. It's one of those things that like some things work for some people, like it's like an instant fix, and
hmm
some people it's like nothing works or like the pressure point works. And it's I hate that it's one of those things that you have to just trial and error everything until you find like your perfect cocktail of like what
Yep.
works. And I'm grateful that for the most part, Excedrin migraine does make a big difference for me. Not like doesn't sometimes if I catch it quickly enough, I think if I had been up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to like see the beginning of this headache, I might have been able to
Yeah.
catch it. But yeah, I think it's allergies too, like we were saying, like congestion.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those things you just have to try everything until you've tried it all.
Excedrin makes me violently ill.
See, that sucks because that's like my lifesaver. So I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you do?
I me it's the clip, the headache helmet. Well, when I can take ibuprofen, and dark chocolate covered espresso beans.
Yeah. Oh my God,
Three,
Susan, I have some. I
yes,
completely forgot.
3 to 8 of those bad boys, and I'm ready to roll.
Yes.
And
Oh,
I save them like those are just for migraines, and that's my little brother too. He gets them really bad, and 3 espresso beans since he was probably like 5. I feel like he was really young when my mom would give him like one, and it would really help. It just the caffeine kicks in.
yes. Oh man, I'm so glad you just said that because it slips my mind because it's not on like my list of things to do, but it needs to be because you
Yes.
recommended it to me last year and it always even if it actually does nothing, it tastes good, but it always
Yes.
does something
It's a good little treat when you're
for me.
not feeling.
Yes.
This was honestly a painfully ironic segue because we're talking about our brains today. So I'm sorry that yours is in pain. um, but we're talking about how to hack your brain in the 4 brain chemicals, which is your daily dose. That I learned that while I was doing research for this episode. I didn't realize that that was a saying, but
Your daily dose?
yeah, dose is dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins.
Oh my gosh, I never put that together.
Isn't that cute?
Your
Pinterest.
daily dose. That has to be the name of the episode, Your Daily Dose. That's so cute.
1000%.
Oh, I love it. And it's actually funny that we talked about dark chocolate as a way to fix a headache because
Yes.
dark chocolate is a brain food. So not only is
Mhm.
dark chocolate going to help you with your head like physically feeling better, but it's going to help you mentally too. So like
Absolutely.
dark chocolate, favorite of the week, favorite of the brain.
Life.
Yes.
Add it to the medicine cabinet. So let's just start with dopamine, D,
Yes.
first letter in dose. So I am guessing that our notes for this are probably similar, like most things we do. I defined or like explained what each chemical does, and then I have a list.
Yeah,
Is that right?
exactly.
Okay. So my definition is dopamine enables motivation and learning, determination to accomplish goals.
That is a very high-end definition.
Thank you.
I had so this had started this whole idea started like a month ago when I was feeling like the whole teapot thing. Like this actually
Yes.
goes back all the way to that. I was feeling like my teapot. I'm not going to explain it again. We talked about it so many times. And I went into therapy that week, and I was like, "What is wrong with me?" And like I was kind of like, "Something's going on." And she was like, "I
Yes.
think you're lacking dopamine." It's like, my like you just completely opened up a new door for me. So she described dopamine. If you're lacking it, you're going to experience a real lack of focus, which obviously makes sense. She
Hmm.
described it as being the feel good chemical. And then when I did my own research separately, I found that it's the reward chemical. So kind of all of those things sum up dopamine.
Yep.
So yeah, let's go into it.
Jump into the list. So this was actually made so much sense to me once I was understanding like what things will give you dopamine. And I was like, I think I'm addicted to dopamine because to-do list, long-term goals, exercise, creating something, completing something, celebrating small wins, gratitude, and self-care. I was like, those are my favorite things.
I think the type A girlie's favorite is dopamine. Like,
Yes.
I think we all are, and I think it makes sense. You've experienced this as well. I think when we are off our routines, over busy, overwhelmed, whatever it is, like I'm thinking back to a year ago when you were buying your house. You were
Yeah.
100% lacking dopamine because you literally did not have the time to do half those things you just mentioned because your focus was obviously all on, like, I'm trying to buy a house here. And
Yeah, trying to wire 70 grand.
literally, like I have other things to worry about. But it makes sense looking at it in that like scientific brain almost of like,
Mhm.
okay, if this is why I'm feeling the way it is, like maybe it's not, maybe there is something else going on, but let's just like assume that this is what's going on. If it's the reward chemical, let's make some rewards happen. Completing a task, like all those things that us type A girlies love. I mean, obviously everybody loves those things, but it's definitely our brand. So yeah, the dopamine is probably my favorite one on the list as well for obvious reasons.
Yes, I agree. Are we ready to move on to the love drug or the love chemical?
I think so. Yeah. I think this is kind of a cool I think like this whole hacking your brain thing, like obviously once we go into all four, we'll talk about it more, but I like the idea of using these as medicine almost. Like
Yeah.
if you're like you're sitting there and you're like something's off, it's like, okay, well ask yourself, am I lacking reward, love, do I have pain, or like is my mood off? And then you can kind
Yeah.
of, once you ask that question, refer back to this podcast or make your own list and refer back to it and be like, okay, like instead of going and taking a Tylenol, like maybe I can go for a walk and maybe that, like kind of use it as a form of therapy almost. So we can go into it, but
No, I definitely agree because as I was making these lists, I was like, oh, I can make myself a daily list of like if I didn't do X, Y, and Z, I cannot question why I feel like shit.
yes.
Like I need to like check one of these off every single one. Or there's something like exercise I found was in across the board, was in all four of them. So I was like, if you can start your ideally, if you can start your day with something that's gonna check one or more of these boxes, that's great. And one thing I do want to note that wasn't on any of these was caffeine. So I feel like a lot of us, well, think about it. A lot of us start our day with caffeine thinking that it's going to jumpstart our day, but it's like it's not a real effect. Like it's not something that your body is producing or like generating. So if you can get one of these things in before your caffeine, I feel like that might be a game changer for a lot of people.
For sure. I'm literally sitting here drinking coffee, so take this with a grain of salt. But
Okay, but it's also the like afternoon,
yes.
evening where you are.
And the headache, like lots of things. But
Yes.
I've actually been seeing a lot. Nick just sent me a video actually about this scientist, writer. He was doing an article or a book about drugs actually and like what
Mhm.
drugs are most addictive. And he said the hardest drug for him to get off was caffeine,
Yeah.
which is like literally amazing. He said he went off it for 3 months and he did not feel like himself for 3 straight months being on.
Yeah, I mean, we could have a whole episode on coffee, but do you remember when I came back from my first semester at UNH
Yes.
and I came home and we didn't have like a yes, I'm gonna say a quality coffee shop at the time. And so I went from drinking like two large lattes a day in Durham, came home for 6 weeks, literally went to the eye doctor. My eye was twitching so bad, and I would have to pull over when I was driving because I was having ocular migraines. I couldn't see anything. And I thought I had like an eye tumor, a brain tumor. Like I was terrified. The eye doctor literally saw me for 30 seconds and was like, do you drink a lot of caffeine? I was like, no, not now. He was like, did you? And I was like, yes. He's like, you're withdrawing from caffeine. He's like, have a cup of coffee every day for the next 6 weeks, just one. He's like, and then you need to like wean yourself off of it. And so since then, I've been very conscious about my caffeine consumption.
Yeah. It's I know how terrible it is. Can't stop, which is 100% the problem. But yeah, you bring up a really great point. Let's go back to the stuff that is actually good for our brains.
Yes.
Go into a
So
horrific caffeine.
oxytocin is the next one, which is the love chemical. Feelings of trust motivates you to build sustainable relationships and love.
Yep, I had Love Chemical. Like I think a lot of the things I found were physical touch, holding hands, hug, things like that. But then I also found playing with animals, giving
Mhm.
compliments, which I think giving and receiving compliments can definitely play into like
Yes.
increasing your oxytocin. But yeah, this is one that I think they all can be very like person to person, but I feel like everybody receives love in such different ways. So this
Mhm.
one could be one that's like what works for somebody might not work for you. So I feel like playing into like the love languages in addition to then going into your like what's going to work for you for oxytocin, because like if I'm someone where like quality time is how I receive love, if someone's like just trying to like win my love by gifts, like I'm going to get very I'm not going to get the same amount of oxytocin from
Right.
that as I would from something else. So it's almost like I feel like there's an extra step with this one.
Absolutely. And oxytocin is interesting because like for me, I have like when you're pregnant after I think it's after 30 weeks. Somewhere in your third trimester you get an abundance of oxytocin because that is one of the main hormones in labor and delivery. And then when you have your baby, like you're filled with oxytocin so that you bond and connect with them. So I had noticed probably within the last 3 weeks, like I have been feeling more like loving and wanting to give back more. So like Chris really noticed it because I've been helping him with a project that I absolutely hate. I hate landscaping with a burning passion. And yesterday, long story short, he was gonna go do some landscaping, and I was like, I'll meet you there, like, I'll help you. And he was like, no, 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 like, you don't have to. And I was like, no, seriously, I want to. I got there an hour before him, and I didn't have a drop of disdain. And he called me, and he was like, I just want you to know, like, I really appreciate this. I can't believe that you're like doing this. And I was like, I just want you to know how much I love you. And he was like, what is wrong with you? Like, not that it was like anything bad, but it was just so out of character for me, and I could literally feel like I just wanted to show him that I loved him.
Yeah.
And that is definitely something I never would have done not pregnant,
Right.
like in that circumstance, without attitude and bitching and moaning. So
And I'm realizing that oxytocin is something that when you are getting it yourself, you're most likely also giving it to someone else. Like in
yes,
that situation, you were receiving oxytocin by doing this act of service for Chris, which is clearly one of his love
yep,
languages. And then in return, he's feeling the love from you because you're doing this act of service for him, to
right.
him, whatever. So it's like I feel like this one is very extra special because it goes, you're like giving and receiving at the same time, and it's very like the love chemical. So obviously it makes sense that it is for more than just your individual self. But that's a very interesting point.
And it's funny because definitely pre-pregnancy, this one would have been like, oh, okay, like cute, but like this one, I don't know. I think it's because I'm actively feeling more of it now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of ways. Let's just say, for example, someone lives alone and doesn't have a pet. How are
Mhm.
ways that they could increase their oxytocin. If they're like, I'm feeling lonely, I'm just feeling a little bit like isolated, whatever, like how could someone in that situation, because like obviously we both live with partners, so it'd be easy to say like I need extra hugs today or whatever, but
Yeah.
like if you're without a pet, you're without any of those emotional physical connections, how
I had music, socializing, and cold shower, which weren't necessarily like physical or like intimate things.
that's
On
great. Music is a great idea.
Mhm.
Music, what was the other one?
Socializing and cold showers. So I mean, socializing that could be as easy as, I mean, not that I'm promoting drinking, but like going out to a bar, like someplace that you're going to meet other people
Yep.
that might not like it's not like you're going to a sit down restaurant, you're not going to meet people there, but like in a more social setting
Yes.
of some variety.
Even like calling a friend if you don't even want to
Mhm.
leave your house, like I think there is a
Yeah.
benefit if you're in that this like made up scenario, like getting out definitely would help, but even calling a friend. Oh, I love the music idea. I feel like there's a memory, like a,
Yeah.
like memory, like sound memory, if that's even a thing. Like
Hmm.
if you're listening to songs that like remind you of a vacation with people or like a summer with a friend, whatever, something like that. Movies, I have no knowledge on if this would check out, but I would
That
be.
makes sense. You're going to be like emotional connections to
Yep.
characters, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I feel like it's the love chemical, but it is like the feeling of the lack of emotional connection. So just any way
Mhm.
you can pull on those emotional heartstrings, like that's gonna grab
Yeah,
something for you.
absolutely. Let's move on to S.
Yes.
Serotonin. I had feelings of significant importance, calm, and a calm acceptance of yourself around other people.
That's a good point. I had the mood stabilizer and the happy chemical, for lack of a better
Yes.
term. I
Yep.
feel like
So on.
I feel like serotonin is like the number one that is talked about when people say like happiness chemicals, or like if you don't know what all four of these mean, I feel like people default to like, oh man, I need more serotonin in my life,
Yeah.
like it's just kind of the one. So I was very interested to dive into it and learn more about like what serotonin actually is versus the other three.
Right. So for my list on that, I had exercise, sunlight, walking, outdoor time, and running.
I had all of the same plus meditating.
Yes.
But yep, all of the same. I think mood stabilizer. That because I saw happiness chemical and I was like, okay, and I was like,
Mhm.
but honestly, I think all four of these are kind of
Yeah.
the happiness chemical. Like that wasn't specific enough for me, but then I saw the mood stabler and I was like, okay, this makes sense.
And that makes so much sense because I know like when I get frustrated or I'm just like spinning my wheels, I will remove, especially if I'm working from home. I'm getting up out of my desk and I'm going out. Like I'm going to either take Maggie outside or I'm going to just stand on my back porch and like hopefully it's sunny out and just literally just sit for a couple minutes and just be outside.
I think sunlight is the biggest mood stabilizer for me, and I love
Yeah.
the habit stacking of like either sitting outside meditating in the sun, exercising in the sun, reading in the sun, which like all of those are hitting at least two different brain chemicals, which
Yeah.
is just amazing. And you know what? Thinking back to our obsession with reading on the treadmill, I never put together that we are habit stacking like to the max when we're doing that. We're hitting dopamine
Yeah.
by completing a task, we're hitting serotonin by exercising, we're hitting endorphin by exercising, oxytocin maybe,
Yeah.
but like so many different habit stacks by exercising and also completing a task at the same time. So, yeah, little side note, but I was like, "Oh
Absolutely.
my god, like we were doing this without even realizing it."
1000%. And last but not least is endorphins, which I had releases brief euphoria in a response to pain and stress that will alleviate those symptoms.
Yep, the painkiller. That's I had the same thing.
And I had for my list laughter, crying, baths, aromatherapy, and dancing.
Yep, I had laughter. I had essential oils, so similar with the
Yep.
aromatherapy, watching a comedy, which obviously goes right into laughter, eating dark chocolate, and exercising.
That's perfect.
Yep. The painkiller, I think that's an interesting one because how do you differentiate from like the mood stabilizer to the painkiller? Because
I feel like the endorphins you need when the mood stabilizer, what you need endorphins when mood stabilizers have been exhausted. Like that is like the next step almost.
yep.
Or like I guess if your mood is here when you need a mood stabilizer, then your mood is here when you need endorphins.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think I agree with that. And I think I thought the aromatherapy part of this, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And it kind of is what made me think of like, oh, I wonder if watching a movie, because it like triggering scent
Mhm.
memory lifts my mood so much. Like that is probably one of my favorite things if you're like in, or honestly sometimes it's like not intentional. If you like, it's happened to me with like old like heat protectant sprays is like the really specific one I can remember one I used when I was in like 6th grade. Anytime I
Yep.
spray it, it's like you're immediately sent back to that place. So I love
Yep.
that aromatherapy was on that list because that I love scent memory, sound memory, all of that I think is so fascinating.
Absolutely. And this one's funny too because I feel like when you think, or at least before I did this research for this episode, whenever I thought of exercise, I only ever thought of endorphins.
Me too.
And now realizing that it's a painkiller, it's because, like, if you're weightlifting, that is painful. Like, it's not a comfortable activity, but then you feel so much better after. And that's why.
I'm trying to think of tasks you could do that would hit all four of the brain chemicals at once. I know we talked that exercise would and does, but are there
Yeah.
any
So running or walking outside,
Yep,
you
yes,
have to do any of these, you would have to do outside to get the serotonin.
yes, yep.
You could meditate outside, but meditate yoga instead of meditation. I guess you could meditate with your yoga flow, but like you
Yeah,
have to do something that like pushes your physical body a little bit
yep.
for the endorphins, right?
And then I think to hit the dopamine, you would either have it as a plan when you wake up that like you're gonna do this task, so then you're
Mhm.
checking that off, or like
Yeah, as soon as it's complete, you're gonna hit it.
exactly, and you're if you're being intentional about it, I feel like being intentional automatically crosses off dopamine because you're rewarding yourself with your intentional mindset.
You know, I just realized 75 hard hits all of these. That's why people feel, I mean, granted, I quit 75 soft, but I think people feel so good because they're sticking to a list. So you're getting your dopamine, you're doing your exercise, so you're getting your oxytocin. You have to do one workout outside. So there's your serotonin, and then you're pushing your body physically and mentally. There's your endorphins. That guy's a genius.
Yep, it's true. And you know what else? We're so deep in this right now, which is why it's like the top of my brain. 100-day challenge.
You took the words out of my mouth. That was my next thing.
Yep. So if you're considering, if you're like, man, I'm lacking a lot of these, 100 days, we're starting first day of summer, which is June
20,
20th.
20th. Yeah, because it's a leap year, so it's June 20th this year.
Yep, the day
Because
early.
the summer solstice is the 21st.
Yep. So get ready because we're going to hit, I would say every single week, there's tasks to
You're
hit.
going to hit, no matter what, you're going to hit one of these because you're going to have a task every day.
There you go.
Some of the stuff is outside, some of the stuff is socializing, some of the stuff will make you cry. No, I'm just kidding.
But it's true. Like, if you need a way to, like, just ride a dopamine high all summer long, do a challenge. Like,
Oh
that's
my God, we should put on each day, we should put a little thing that like says which chemical it's going to activate.
cute.
Putting that in Slack when we get out of
I
here.
know. Seriously, add it to the list. And I feel like we could probably
Oops.
talk about this off camera too, but I feel like there is a marketing idea with kind of leaning into the chemicals with like, if you're lacking this, we have this product. If you're lacking this, we have this product.
Pain point marketing. We love to see it.
Literally, yeah. That's
Yeah.
we love the brain chemicals. Did you talk about any brain foods other than dark chocolate?
I didn't get into foods.
Okay, I'll just run off my list because I was truly fascinated, and my therapist came up with some of these, and then or came up with she shared some of them with me, and then I looked up more. I'll just read them off: blueberries, broccoli, avocado, flaxseed, walnuts, dark chocolate, leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, almonds, green tea, chia seeds, and turmeric.
Interesting. You know what's funny? Turmeric. My husband's great grandmother lived to be 100 years old. And she swore by turmeric. That woman danced every morning until she was literally like 100, and she would drink turmeric in her water every morning. and she swore that that's why she was living such a long, healthy life. And that woman was with it. Mama Roy knew that I transferred from UNH to Plymouth when she was 97 years old. Like she was with it.
She was with
So
it, hitting
Chris
all
is
the
always like,
right
we need to have more
markers.
turmeric in our diet. Mama Roy swear by it. I'm like, yeah, we do.
Interesting. And I actually I'm surprised to not see cinnamon on this list because I could have sworn that cinnamon was one of those things that was like an almighty thing, like turmeric, and I had heard about it with cinnamon. I don't know why, but I wonder. I should look it up after and see like maybe cinnamon is just more for our like manifesting purposes because I
Yeah,
know
I was
that's
gonna
like
say, I was thinking about our monthly ritual.
yes, but it's
Favorite?
fascinating. Like I started switching more to green tea, not today because the headache took
Neat.
priority, but green tea has a lot of caffeine. So in the afternoons, if I need a little more caffeine, I've been doing green tea. Just after doing this research, I'm like, you know what? Like, let me do this if this is going to add more benefit to my life, still getting me caffeine. But it's interesting. Avocado, like so many of these, like quote unquote superfoods that I'm realizing
Mhm.
now are more than just for the body. They're really like helping out your brain too.
Yeah, it's all connected.
Yes, I love it.
Favorites?
Yes.
Do you want to start?
My favorite of the week is spa water, which I don't really know why it's called spa water, but it sounds so much more fun than just saying flavored water, so I will continue to call it spa water. But it's just I've been making it myself just in a pitcher, and I keep it in the fridge so it's nice and cold. This week and last week I did lemon, blood orange, and mint.
Oh.
So freaking good. And I've been drinking so much water because it's just adding a little bit of flavor. It's something different. I feel like I need to constantly switch up how I'm getting water in every day because it's obviously something we're doing so much to get in like a gallon of water a day. So like I have to drink from different vessels occasionally with a straw, without a straw, room temperature, cold, like all these like flavored, unflavored, all these different things to like keep it interesting. So I've been drinking so much water with it being flavored. The lemon, as you guys know, I love my morning lemon water. I've been doing spa water in the morning with the weather mostly being nicer. Instead of having hot water, I've been doing the spa water. The lemon's good for you. I know mint has a lot of great properties for
Hmm.
digestion, and I don't know what blood orange does, but it tastes delicious. So I've been loving it. So fun for the summer, just so easy, and it's like just a little treat, like why not?
I love that.
You should do it. Do it for the summer.
Chris would love that. Chris loves a flavored something. I've been drinking Celsius. That has been my latest thing. I have berry Celsius going right now. And yeah,
They
that would be a
have
healthier
so
option.
many flavors of Celsius. Like I feel like every time I go on the internet, it's like Celsius dropped a new flavor. I'm like, how do you people have time for this?
It's like Alani new too.
It's amazing.
You see, Paris has her own flavor now.
Paris?
Yes.
No. How did I
Yes,
see
it's
what I knew?
very pink.
They are so fast. Like I knew Whitney had her own flavor, but I completely missed that
Yeah, we went like Kim, Whitney, Paris, like boom, boom, boom.
all the icons talk about like a dream team.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you
Wait,
need to. I think it dropped yesterday. You need to
what?
look at it. It's like hot pink, like fuchsia.
And it's berry?
I no, I don't know what flavor it is.
Oh, okay, okay. I thought you said it was
Blush pink or something like that.
okay, I need to look into this. If Paris
My
makes
thing,
it, I'll love it.
yes. My favorite of the week is research. I've been learning, like, just loving learning new concepts, applying new strategies for YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest. This is kind of like triple dipping because I'm doing it for my full time job. I'm using it in my passive income streams. And I just like learning. I was looking at going back to school for my master's, which I'm still going to do, but the courses ran from now until like the middle of July. And I was like, I'm not messing with a newborn and a master's class. So I will be going back for my master's soon, but I was just having that itch to like learn. So I've been doing it myself in just a couple hours each day. And I just love it. I love using my brain that way.
That's amazing, Susan. I had no idea that you were looking into that.
Oh yeah, that's like I am all lined up with the school. Just I need to like hit the trigger on when I want to start. So I'm going to just see how life works with a new human living in our house, our new roommate. And then go from there. But I can take 1 to 2 classes at a time and just pick away at it. I'm not in a rush to do it. And I'd even talked to my work about it, and she was like, you don't need that. Like, you have the I'll figure it out gene. Like, you don't need a degree to move further or to move where you want to in this company, which was really reassuring and like nice to hear. But I was like, I just want to learn and I want to bring new assets and perspectives to the job I'm doing now so I can do it better.
Yep. And
She's like,
also, I
I
think
love hearing that.
it's fascinating. It's not fascinating. Well, it is, but it's so beneficial right now that all three of your like realms are so connected, and
Aligned,
the
yeah.
fact that yes, so well aligned. So the fact that you could go back to school and have it be a passion project, a career move, like all it can hit all these
Yeah.
different points. I think it's a wonderful idea.
Yeah. It's been very, I don't know, just satisfying part of my brain that is feeling a little stagnant.
You should look into, we do still have our masterclass subscription. I wonder if there's anything there
Yeah.
that would just, if you're itching for like the class
Yes.
mentality that you're obviously not going to get until after the newborn stage, masterclass would be easy to log into. Some TED Talks, why not?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love that.
Quote.
Yeah, my quote of the week: 1% better every day. I think I
I have that on my vision board.
perfect.
It's actually the biggest one. It's a big one with a percent sign. Yeah.
I think it's such a nice reminder for like it's 1% every day. Like whether it's a different 1% or it's another 1% in the same percentage field as what you did yesterday, like all you have to do is 1% better. I think it can be so easy to put so much pressure on yourself, and you have to be crossing off every single thing on every single list every single day in order to have a successful day. And I'm really trying to get out of that mindset and just say like, okay, today I did 1% better than I did yesterday in some capacity,
Um,
whether that was, you know what, I slept in an extra hour because that's what my body needed, 1% better, I did that for myself, like whatever it is, and just focusing on that instead of so much guilt on like things that
yeah.
don't, we do not need to have guilt for.
Absolutely. And that just honestly, like the guilt part of it can just set you back because then you're like discouraged. I know yesterday I got up and Chris happened to get up when I got up, which threw off my whole. I was like, dude, it's 5 a.m. Go back to bed, please. Like, you're really screwing with me right now. He was like, come back, come just hang out with me. And so I went back to bed and laid with him for a little bit. And then he fell asleep. And I was like, I could have been working out right now, but I'm sitting here listening to you snore. So then I got up and I did like 3/4 of the workout I normally would have done. And I was just, my body hurt. I was sore. And I was like, I'm done here. Like, we're not doing it. But I was a little frustrated with myself because I was like, I should have just gotten up and pretended I didn't hear him get up and ignored his existence to get my full workout in. And then you know what I did? Then yesterday afternoon when I decided I wanted to go help him, like my whole intention was just to help him. I burned like no joke 1,000 calories just helping him with what I did. And it was sunny out and I got a tan. It was a win-win-win situation. Yes. So, the 1% of my day didn't start that way, but I ended my day 1% better. Or actually 3% better because I was tan, I was working out, and I helped my husband.
And you crossed off every single one of your brain
Yeah.
checklist.
So oh my God, we're at like 7% now.
Wow, see, look at that. And like
Wow.
even just the fact of you just took 3 minutes, not even, God, you took a minute and a half to lay out, here's everything that I did yesterday, and not even everything, but you're like, here's the things that I'm proud of from yesterday. That's an easy way if you just need a reminder of all the amazing things you're doing every day. Just actually sit down and be like, hey, look at all the things I'm doing instead of like, oh, I didn't do enough. It's like, no, let's focus on what you are doing. And you'll quickly realize you are doing so many things every day. You just have to actually think about it.
Absolutely. So, my quote of the week, I almost dropped on you when you brought up the house buying process last year, because that was kind of the thought I had in my mind when I found this quote, which your life right now is a result of what you did a year ago. Your life a year from now will be a result of what you do right now. Act accordingly. And I feel like my life right now is exactly what I pictured it. Actually, no, better than what I pictured a year ago at this time. And it's just like it's one of those full circle moments that once you get there, you get living your dream life. It's just so surreal, and it's like, holy crap, like I'm here because I worked really hard for this.
Yep.
And then you continue to work really hard to meet those next goals and cross those off and get more dopamine and
Yes.
all the things.
I love that quote. I think it could be looked at as like, because you first said it, and I was like, oh my God, the pressure's on. Like, because when you think about it that way,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna.
1% each day, and you're going to be 365% better a year from now.
Yep. Yes. And it's
That easy.
wow. Our quotes actually really go so perfectly together
Yeah,
when
they
you think
do.
of it that way. No surprise there.
No surprise.
Right. But it's interesting, like, instead of looking at that quote as in, like, the pressure's on, you better make something happen, it's like, no, like, you have the power to make this happen. Like, look at, you can be building your life right now for tomorrow and for the next day, and honestly, for yesterday and for this present day. Like, everything you're doing every single day has an immediate and a delayed impact, which is so honestly kind of amazing to think about.
And I think it's really easy to lose sight of that too, because like right now we're sitting in front of you telling you like, oh, like we love our lives. 2 years ago, I was a teacher and I hated my life. I hated going to work every day. I was fighting with my husband every day, well, fiance at the time, every day. Like I was miserable. And it took a lot of work and 1% each
Yeah.
day, but they did. They compounded and they added up. And even from the beginning of teaching till I got to like probably a third of the way through second semester, it was like a whole different life. And it was because it was showing up and doing something for myself 1% each day. So if you're listening to this and you're like, that's great that you guys live this dream life, but I can hate my life right now, then just know that just put a little bit of work in each day and I promise it will add up, especially when it feels like it's not or you feel like you're hitting a wall. That's right before you have a breakthrough. So
Yes.
just trust the process. We're proof that the process works. Like just have faith in that and have faith in yourself of continuing to show up every day.
And I think our whole thing this year has been intention, and
Yeah.
this whole 1% a day is the whole point is that you're going to be intentional every day, no matter what it's for, whether it is like you're choosing to exercise, you're choosing to go back to bed, like whatever it is, like if you're being intentional about it, that's what's going to build progress. Like if you're looking for a change, let's like if you want to even focus on one thing, like you're looking for a change in your life, let's say you want a new career, do 1% a day to work towards that, like you did when you were like, okay, I'm done being a teacher, like what's next for me. Like you did little things every day. Some of them
Yeah.
probably had a more direct impact to getting a different job, some of them maybe less direct, but it all ended up in the direction of where you wanted to be
Yeah.
because you were putting that intentional mindset 1% every day, which is so attainable. 1%, so attainable.
1%. And I think even just breaking it down to like, here's a really specific example that doesn't apply to everyone, but just a way of showing like 1% is for the month of May, I had a goal of selling 30 books. That was like, I felt like it was lofty, but I was like, I'm going to do it. Posting one TikTok a day. It is May 7th, and I've already passed that goal. So it's one of those things where it's like, that granted, I've been posting consistently for about 2 months now, but that was one post a day. That was taking time to, conjure up one post and then you see the results. So just one thing a day.
Perfect way to end it, and we have less than a minute left, so your timing was beautiful.
You guys know what to do. Please like and subscribe, leave a review wherever you are listening, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for listening.